Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. For those of you looking for a safe way to secure your crypto, there is a Ledger affiliate link in the description below. While I do not work for Ledger, I am an affiliate and I've been using Ledger myself for a number of years. Where we are right now in crypto is a little bit like this and a little bit like this, and it kind of goes back to like this. If you haven't been paying attention, the current world economic situation is a gigantic question mark. This is not just for crypto, it's completely all over the board. We are getting news that there are a number of countries who are beginning to print money, and the expectation is that normally that money printing tends to go into markets, adding extra liquidity, prices go up, and then also subsequently crypto would as well. We are nearing the historical timeline when prices in crypto should normally be going up. If you've seen the last 10 videos or so, you might remember in some capacity a lot of analysts have been talking about Q2, quarter two, for when the cryptocurrency market is going to basically re-pump again during this current bull cycle that we are in. A lot of people have widely varying ideas as to where prices are going to go now, if I can be completely honest with you. If the current economic uncertainty around traditional world markets continues, a lot of people, and this is this is like a worst case scenario kind of thing. People are still discussing that by the end of this year, we should still potentially see around a $200,000 to a $250,000 Bitcoin. That's not too bad. That would also equate into very large gains for altcoins as well. If Bitcoin essentially does a 2.5x, 1x, 2x, if it doubles and basically adds on 50K on top of that, we'd probably see some of the earlier price predictions that we saw for the market. The higher end there, and I don't call them delusional, I call them optimisticals, where basically we still have a couple of people who are talking about that they believe that Bitcoin is still going to 1 million this year. I would not be upset, neither would anyone else in the market. It's just more of a, once again, question mark in the sky. A lot of world markets are still on the greed to fear index. Crypto was in extreme fear. We kind of edge a little bit towards fear to like the middle, more or less, but there's still a fear aspect. And even a lot of the charts and graphs that you've seen before, we're still in this uncertainty, and we are nowhere near anywhere on the euphoric scale. A researcher by the name of Mark Quant performed what he calls the Monte Carlo simulation for Bitcoin, where once again, as we always do, analysts tend to give us shorter periods of time. We wouldn't hear someone giving us like a 10-year prediction. We have a couple of them from like Plan B and stuff, but a lot of times we will hear like on the short term. He made a 6-month graph or a forecast for Bitcoin. It says the Monte Carlo model is a computational method using random sampling to simulate price projections and assets risk. There we go. It can generate multiple possible scenarios based on variable factors such as volatility and current market trends. He basically used, and I say it this way, remember about a week ago, where we saw Bitcoin's price really drop. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. It doesn't really matter. He used that simulation for when we had the extreme dip. And he assessed that probably was the lowest that we were going to go in price. If you missed some of the other videos as well, a lot of the analysts were saying that they think that any dip towards like the 70,000 range would easily be bounced off of, which we did a couple of times. So a lot of people are saying that 80,000 is kind of like the lowest that we're going to go this cycle, question mark, at the time of me making this video. He used those projections, and based off of his Monte Carlo model, it says that the average price based on his model for future projections, volatility, and market trends, his final price, medium price for Bitcoin by the end of September comes to $258,445 per Bitcoin. He expanded it, added a bunch more information, doesn't say exactly what he added in. The other option now, and I tried not to be hypey in any sort of way. I tried to be realistic, and I tried to give you the news that's currently happening. This projection would essentially mean that any economic uncertainty has disappeared. The Fed has begun printing tons of money. China's printing tons of money. Germany's printing tons. For those of you who missed the Germany news, Germany is on track. They're going to print an additional 1 trillion euros. You can Google it. Like, it's literally like not a fake number. It's 1 trillion. Like, it's actually 1 trillion. And all of our economic woes have disappeared. His other chart shows that by the end of September 2025, Bitcoin will be at $713,000 per coin. This fluctuates us to the other complete opposite end, near opposite end of getting towards those like $1 million price predictions. And I told you before in other videos, I know why. Like, it's not a question mark. I understand completely why every other analyst was constantly mentioning a $1 million Bitcoin over the course of 2025. It's because of the accumulation levels of the ETFs. What we are in, our market's being manipulated. Every market is manipulated, but we're in a brand new market where we have the possibility of Bitcoin potentially at some point in the future going to $1 million, $2, $3, $4, $14 million per coin. So we are going to be rapidly hyper manipulated by the powers that be and market makers and people who just simply are throwing in millions of dollars into the market every single day. They want to buy at lower prices. When people tell you that Bitcoin's going to $1 million, it's not because they want to make you feel good. It's because the ETFs purchased 1.5 million Bitcoin in 13 months. The expectations were and are that they're going to continue buying. If you missed any of the outflow news, every single website keeps mentioning that there were $3 million worth of outflows to the ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs. But on that same exact day, the inflows were 44 million. So there's always like a really weird kind of narrative that we are given to make us believe a certain thing about the space. They're talking about the levels of accumulation. They're talking about nation states and countries buying. It makes sense that we would be going towards $1 million Bitcoin because we've seen less activity and attention being paid to Bitcoin, and we still rolled up to $70,000 to $100,000 per coin. It's just that right now, the economic uncertainty across the board is scaring markets. It's scaring the stock market. It's scaring. The only thing I haven't heard much negativity about yet has been the housing market. But everywhere else across the board, things aren't looking too hot. So it's with that I say it is very interesting that despite all of these things, and I would logically assume that a lot of the analysts who we keep hearing from are probably putting all of this new economic data into their charts, and they're still kind of coming out with the exact same directional thing. His chart, for those of you who didn't get it, is a 6-month chart. So his charts are showing by the end of the 6 months, based on his Monte Carlo simulation, Bitcoin is anywhere from $258,000 to $713,000 per coin. It's very fascinating to see, as I've stated countless times, that the analysts are all kind of similar in range to actual numbers. We heard 250 for months. If you weren't here, 250, 250, 250, 250 as Bitcoin's actual price constantly. So yeah, I know it's a really weird time to not only be on this planet, but also to be in crypto, to be into economics, to be into money making, to be into anything. There's no certainty right now. I have discussions with my friends about this all the time because I kind of thrive on certainty. It's who I am as a person. I don't mind volatility in markets, but I need things to always kind of make sense. So the fact that nothing is making sense right now, especially with crypto, I have to rationalize in my mind that it is manipulation. The fact that everything is happening with the stock market, I have to rationalize exactly what the situation currently is. Because things are happening with countries printing extra money, like I have to keep putting everything, not into a box per se, but I have to really like sit there and understand that, okay, this is happening for a particular reason and it's not like haphazard and or random. So with the cryptocurrency market, people are still assuming in this, we've always been in these 4-year cycles. And we know that historically during these 4-year cycles, usually by the time we get to Q2, as we're into spring, prices tend to move back up. And this is why the charts are saying the exact same things over and over and over again. This is why this is showing in September, $250,000 per coin. Because we normally know that by the time that we get to October, November, December, it's the same exact way that it was in 2017 and 2021 as well. But 2021 was also a bit of another anomaly kind of year, that once it gets cold outside in the northern hemisphere, that prices tend to do like one final push and then they begin to slowly move back down over the course of multiple years. There are still tons of analysts right now who are talking about that. I'm hitting my leg over and over, talking about that cycles are over. There's a lot of people who believe that cycles are over and that what we're seeing. Okay, here we go. A lot of analysts, for those of you who don't know, believe that the advent of the Bitcoin ETFs kind of introduced us into this world where cycles are done for. No longer the 4-year cycle, but more of a short-term boom and busts. Price goes up like crazy, we go down a little bit. Price goes up like crazy, not over the course of a 4-year period, but like month after month after month after month. That's also what Samson Mao said. And one of the other ideas behind that basically ends up being is that as the cryptocurrency market continues to expand and as Bitcoin's price continues to expand, we are kind of witnessing other companies and institutions and governments realizing that the 4-year cycle might potentially be over, and therefore they're trying to accumulate large amounts right now by manipulating the market, keeping prices lower, so that when it does go back up, that they benefit the most. And then when the bust cycle happens over the course of a couple months period, prices go back down, retail sells back off, they basically buy up again. We've gone, no, this is a normal part of the cycle, but apparently it's meant to be accelerated at this point. There's a lot of different theories for what's going on, but and I say it to you in the nicest way, by December we'll know what's going on. By December we will know if the 4-year cycle has been broken. We will have a better understanding because the year's like 25% done now. We'll have a better understanding of if we have just like multiple boom and bust cycles over and over, as opposed to just one long extended bull run. But either way, it's going to be interesting because life. Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed. And I the Monte Carlo thing sounds fun, but also like it's nice to see that even this chart is still showing the exact same numbers as all the other ones, but we'll see what happens. Either way, it's going to be intense, I think. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.